Okay, this is just an overview of a new part of the analysis panel that makes it easy to just understand where what your statistics are for all the routes over time. Unlike the other panels, which are primarily focused on race analysis in the context of time to finish or distance to finish between either routes or different boats, this last panel is just a statistical graphing tool, and it allows arbitrary graphing and arbitrary comparison of these different charts and graphs. So when you get to this page, again, you get here the same way. It's just part of the analysis tool set. You expand up the view, and now you have all of your charts. So one thing I'll just call attention to is you can have as many views as you want, and the whole point of this is that it allows you to configure these different views and then compare them, and you can do that however you want. And so I'll just close these up. We have, first of all, you get to select what you're plotting. And so in this case, let's just look at true wind speed. And then we have route filters. So these are populated by our loaded routes and our visible routes. But because we want to have a view, like multiple views where we're comparing different things, we might want to just turn off certain routes in order to compare certain routes against other routes. And so that's what this lets us do. We can, we can turn on and off different init times, different weather models, and different boats. This is a version that I'm putting up as a demo on the internet, and so I don't have a ton of data here, but enough to showcase what you can do. So every view will have 4 charts. It will have this histogram timeline. It will have this value over time. It will have the change in value per time step over time. And then it has a probability chart. And so this is much more easy to understand because you're just looking at all of the routes that you have loaded and visible and not filtered out by these route filters. So you can set it up however you want. Again, I'm not going to go over these import filters or these visibility filters or these, but again, it can show whatever you want. If you want to see just one particular boat, if you want to see many boats of the same class, if you want to see just one model, however you want to set that up. So this histogram view, this is just a distribution of what you have selected. So it's just a histogram bin of true wind speed in this case, and we could choose any one of these other parameters. And you can, of course, change the number of bins in your histogram. And this is just a density. We can look at it both ways. This probably looks familiar from the boat page, but this is just a timeline. On the x-axis is our time, and these are just the histograms of our, in this case, true wind speed at each time. And so this histogram up at the top here is this histogram right here, which always, as always, wherever there's a blue line, that's your selected time, and wherever there's a red line, that's right now. And so that should be pretty easy to understand. Then we have the value over time, and this is the same thing. All of the routes, the value at time as value that we have selected as a function of time. So this is true wind speed as a function of time for all of our routes. Similarly, we have the change in true wind speed per time step as a function of time for all of our routes. And for these two pages, or these two graphs, we can also look at the statistics. And so, for instance, we could go to boat, and we could look at the mean, median, min, max, spread, standard deviation, and then I threw in some percentiles using a Gaussian distribution just for the heck of it. And so now you can see we're looking at, these are now the min true wind speed as a function of time for each boat. That's how it's configured up here as a function of time. And as always, the analysis here, oops. as always, it does respect the temporal bins. And so we can change the temporal bin and everything will update accordingly. Is that true? Is that updating? Let me just double check here. Yeah, it is. Okay, good. Both the value over time and the change in value per time step, they support these aggregating by different groups, different ways to aggregate them, and then different statistics within each group. That's pretty easy to understand. And then lastly, we have probability, the probability that the value is within a certain range. So this still takes all of the routes. There's no grouping in this case because that concept doesn't really apply here. But what we can say is the probability that our true wind speed in this case is greater than 10. And that's what this plot shows. It looks at every route that, again, isn't filtered out, and it gives us the probability as a function of time that our true wind speed is greater than 10. And you can do between as well, 10 knots in this case. There's another interesting thing that you can do. And so before I jump into that, let me just show how you might use this. So you might want to say, I want to compare this for two different boats. So you can add a view. Here, I'm going to select none. I'm going to select this boat. Here, I'm going to select none. I'm going to select this other boat. And now we can just compare our charts across boats. If we had multiple init times loaded, we could just compare on the left one init time, on the right another init time. And so we can do this however we want. The other thing we can do with these filters is you can just pull in the filter. So if I have a lot of views, and I'm on my whatever nth view, I can just go in and I can just say, just grab the same filters from view 1, and now this is view 1, and I can, change this to do whatever I want, and now I know that I'm looking at the same routes that view 1 is using. Now let me just show you the last thing that you can do here that I think is pretty cool. The histogram view, what it's really telling you is it's giving you a sense of what is likely to happen over time. And so you can kind of see here, the density view is nice because it kind of shows you where your options are going. Do you have two possible paths? If it's really spread out and muddy, then there's a lot of ambiguity there. If everything collapses into one line, one strong line, you feel good about what's going to happen. So I think this is, and again, you can do this for literally any variable that you want to look at. But another interesting thing that we can do is we can add dependent variables. And what this means is, so right now, this view is looking at, again, some collection of views, and I'm looking at true wind speed. And so maybe what I might want to do is maybe I put it on VMG. So this is my VMG, and I can add a dependent variable. Right, okay, so first what I want to do is I can select these histogram bins. And so I can select, let's say, these fastest VMG, these VMGs that are, is that the fastest or the slowest? That's the slowest. Okay, on this side then, let's just grab a couple fast VMGs here. So these are my histogram bins with the fastest VMGs that I've selected. And now I've added a dependent variable. So this up here, by the way, all of these graphs have updated to only include the routes in these histogram bins. So this is my primary variable. All of these graphs are updated just to reflect the selected histogram bins. But my dependent variables now are also updated to only include those routes. And what that lets me do is it lets me see what are the possible SOGs, for instance, or what are the possible, let's say, here's a polar sensitivities. So here is sensitivity plotted the histogram bins over time, but only for routes for whom the VMG is fastest and in these bins. And you can add multiple dependent variables. So up here I added, so this was the sensitivity. I might want to also show, I don't know, I might want to also show apparent wind angle, for instance. And so this is now helping me understand for the routes that have the best VMG. And again, that doesn't mean that they are going to happen or that they are right or that their forecasts are correct. I could have chosen the three, these models might be the worst models in the collection. So it doesn't tell you that this is going to happen, but it helps you understand what your options are and, again, what the statistics look like. How your apparent wind angle changes over time if you commit to, or if this comes to fruition, that you are going down a route that's in one of these histogram bins. And so this is a pretty powerful tool for evaluating. And again, that now you have this probability graph as well. And so you can use the probability, the range probabilities to further understand what's likely to happen given certain prior assumptions. So that's this page. And again, you can, if you wanted to add, one other thing I'll show is once you have histogram bins selected, you can click this map icon and you can lower it, and it will just, and now you're just soloed on the routes that are in those bins, whatever histogram bins you've selected. So this is the, I call it like the graph sandbox, but this is just arbitrary plotting and probabilistic graph creation for all of the different properties of your routes as a function of time. And in the description, I've added a link to sign up for our demo to request access. We're putting a demo up soon. So if you're curious to play around with this, definitely fill out the form in the link. And thanks for watching.